In the vibrant streets of Paris, Amélie Dubois suffered years of heartbreak as her alluring younger sister, Camille, systematically stole every man she dated, from fleeting high school romances to her fiancé, Julien. Devastated by Camille's betrayal with Julien, Amélie devised a calculated revenge, introducing her sister to Vincent, a charismatic but dangerous con artist. What unfolded was a devastating spiral that shattered Camille's life, leaving Amélie to confront the moral cost of her actions. Did Amélie's quest for justice cross an ethical line, or was Camille's downfall a deserved consequence? Share your thoughts in the comment below, like, and subscribe for more captivating stories. In the winding, cobblestone alleys of Montmartre, Paris, where artists sketch beneath the looming spire of Sacré-Cœur, Amélie Dubois grew up overshadowed by her younger sister, Camille. 2 years her junior, Camille inherited their mother's breathtaking beauty, golden curls, emerald eyes, and a smile that could halt passers-by on the bustling Champs-Élysées. Amélie, with her quick wit and understated charm, was often told she took after their father, a reserved literature professor at the Sorbonne. The comparison stung, especially as Camille's allure became a weapon that cut deep into Amélie's life. It began in Lycée, in the crowded halls of their school near the Latin Quarter. Amélie's first love, Etienne, a quiet poet with a penchant for Rimbaud, started spending afternoons at their family's cozy apartment in the 5th arrondissement, ostensibly to study. Camille would glide through the room, her school uniform subtly tailored to accentuate her figure, asking Etienne to decipher Baudelaire's verses. Amélie, trusting and naive, missed the lingering glances and soft touches. Weeks later, Etienne confessed, his voice barely a whisper, that he'd fallen for Camille. It just happened, he said, avoiding her gaze. Amélie forgave him, dismissing it as teenage impulsiveness. But the pattern was set. By their 20s, Camille's tactics sharpened to a cruel precision. Amélie dated Pierre, a talented graphic designer, for 8 months, their romance blossoming in smoky jazz clubs and quiet Seine-side strolls. She brought him to a family dinner at Le Consulate, a charming brasserie in Montmartre. By the time dessert arrived, Camille was leaning close, whispering about her internship at a trendy art gallery, her hand brushing Pierre's. Days later, Pierre called, his voice trembling, admitting he'd slept with Camille during a moment of weakness. Camille's justification was a saccharine smile. I was testing him for you, Amélie. He failed miserably. The betrayal burned, but Amélie rationalized it. If a man could be swayed so easily, perhaps he wasn't worth her heart. Then came Julien, the man who nearly destroyed her. A compassionate architect with dreams of restoring Paris's historic buildings, Julien proposed to Amélie after a year, their love sealed under the city's twinkling lights. They planned a future, envisioning a quaint home in the Marais. But at their engagement party, held at a chic rooftop bar overlooking the Eiffel Tower, Camille, radiant in a crimson dress, got drunk and kissed Julien in front of their friends. He didn't pull away. Days later, he broke off the engagement, posting a photo with Camille on Instagram. Love finds you when you least expect it. At a tense family dinner, their mother, Claire, berated Amélie. Why do you keep tempting Camille with these men? She's young, impulsive. You're setting her up to fail. Amélie's heart calcified. Camille wasn't just reckless. She thrived on dismantling Amélie's happiness, reveling in her pain. The final blow came at 28, when Amélie, now a journalist, fell for Luc, a photographer with a quiet intensity. For 6 months, she kept him hidden, meeting in tucked-away cafes in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, avoiding social media. But a careless remark to a mutual friend reached Camille, who hunted Luc down via his online portfolio. One evening, Amélie entered Luc's apartment to find them together, Camille's laughter cutting through the air. You deserve better, sis. He's not even that good, she said, smirking. Luc shrugged, unapologetic. She's irresistible, Amélie. You get it, right? That night, driving through Paris's rain-soaked streets, her hands trembling on the wheel, Amélie vowed retribution. Camille craved charming, unattainable man. Amélie would deliver one, a man who would unravel her sister's life completely. Amelie's journalistic instincts took over. For weeks, she dove into public records, court documents, and obscure news archives, her laptop glowing late into the night in her small Montmartre flat. She discovered Vincent Lefebvre, a 35-year-old financier with a chiseled jaw and a polished LinkedIn profile boasting investments in tech startups. On the surface, he was a fantasy. Successful, charming, recently divorced. But beneath lay a predator. Court filings detailed emotional manipulation, financial fraud, and restraining orders from 2 ex-partners. Vincent was under investigation for a Ponzi scheme masquerading as a hedge fund. He was the perfect weapon. Using a fake LinkedIn profile as a business consultant, Amelie contacted Vincent, proposing a meeting at a sleek cafe in Le Marais. She dressed carefully, understated, vulnerable, and showed him Camille's Instagram, filled with curated shots from Paris Fashion Week and rooftop soirees. "She always steals my boyfriends," Amelie said, her voice cracking with rehearsed pain. "I can't compete with her beauty." Vincent's eyes gleamed, a predator sensing opportunity. "Any man who'd choose her over you is a fool," he said, his hand brushing hers across the table. Amelie hid her revulsion, knowing she'd hooked him. They dated for a month, Vincent lavishing her with dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants like Le Muris and weekend getaways to Deauville. His compliments were calculated, his gestures designed to foster dependence. Amelie played the smitten girlfriend, all while sowing the seeds of her plan. She told him she wanted to keep their relationship secret from Camille, citing her sister's history of theft. Then she invited him to their mother's 60th birthday dinner at a cozy bistro in Montparnasse, knowing Camille's presence would ignite the trap. The bistro in Montparnasse buzzed with warmth, its walls adorned with vintage posters and fairy lights casting a soft glow over the linen-covered tables. Amelie's mother, Claire, radiant at 60, sat at the head, her laughter mingling with the clink of wine glasses. Vincent arrived in a tailored suit, his charm effortless as he complimented Amelie's choice of a crisp Sancerre and shared anecdotes about his ventures in Silicon Valley. He played the doting boyfriend flawlessly, his hand resting lightly on Amelie's, his smiles directed solely at her. Camille, seated across the table in a sleek black dress, simmered at being overlooked, her green eyes narrowing with each moment Vincent ignored her. Amelie watched Camille's frustration build, her sister's usual poise fraying. By the time the waiter served the coq au vin, Camille was in full pursuit. She leaned close to Vincent, her perfume heavy, asking about his travels with a coy smile, her hand grazing his arm. "You must have such fascinating stories," she purred, her voice low enough to exclude the table but loud enough for Amelie to hear. Vincent played along, his responses polite but distant, fueling Camille's determination. She laughed too loudly at his quips, her fingers lingering on his sleeve as she recounted her own adventures at Parisian art galleries. Their parents exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the tension but unsure how to intervene. As dessert, creme brulee with a perfectly caramelized crust arrived. Camille escalated. She leaned in, whispering something that made Vincent chuckle, her hand brushing his under the table. Amelie's stomach churned, not with jealousy but with the thrill of her plan unfolding. She excused herself to the restroom, leaving the door slightly ajar to watch. Through the crack, she saw Camille slip Vincent a napkin with her number scrawled in red ink, her smile predatory. Vincent pocketed it with a glance that promised trouble. Amelie returned, catching them exchanging a conspiratorial look. In a calculated burst of drama, she seized her glass of Merlot and flung it in Vincent's face, the red wine staining his pristine shirt. "How dare you?" she cried, her voice breaking as she stormed out, tears, partly real, mostly staged, streaming down her cheeks. The bistro fell silent, all eyes on her retreating figure. That night, Camille called, her voice dripping with crocodile tears. "Vincent was all over me, Amelie. I didn't mean for it to happen, but you're better off without him. Something about him feels off." Amelie murmured sympathies, her heart pounding with grim satisfaction. Within 48 hours, Camille's Instagram story showed her sipping champagne in Vincent's sleek apartment in the 16th arrondissement, the Eiffel Tower glinting through his floor-to-ceiling windows. She captioned it, "Living my best life." Amelie scrolled through the posts, her fingers trembling. Camille had taken the bait, oblivious to the trap closing around her. Amelie had spent weeks researching Vincent's dark history, knowing his charm masked a ruthless manipulator. Now, Camille was in his orbit, and Amelie felt a mix of triumph and unease. She'd orchestrated this moment, but the weight of what was to come pressed heavily on her chest. Camille's descent was swift and merciless. Within days of the bistro dinner, she was fully entangled with Vincent, posting selfies from his luxurious apartment, her captions gushing about new beginnings. Amelie watched from afar, her journalist inbox filling with alerts about Vincent's shady dealings. 2 weeks after the dinner, Camille moved into his place, her belongings crammed into designer suitcases. She handed over access to her savings account, €40, 000 painstakingly saved from her gallery job, for what Vincent called shared investments in a groundbreaking tech startup. Amelie knew better. Vincent's firm was a house of cards, a Ponzi scheme designed to fleece the naive. The first crack appeared 6 weeks later. A lawyer representing Vincent's ex-wife contacted Camille, claiming he'd hidden assets during their divorce, implicating Camille as an accomplice. "It's a misunderstanding," Camille told Amelie over the phone, her voice trembling but defiant. "His ex is bitter, trying to ruin him." Amelie feigned concern, her mind racing with the knowledge that this was only the beginning. She'd read the court filings. Vincent's ex had documented years of emotional abuse and financial deceit, painting a picture of a man who thrived on control. Camille, dazzled by his promises of wealth, saw none of it. The unraveling accelerated. French authorities froze Vincent's accounts, revealing his hedge fund as a sham. Camille's €40,000 vanished overnight, along with her dreams of a glamorous future. She confronted Vincent in his apartment, her voice echoing through the marble-floored space. His charm dissolved into rage. "You're ungrateful just like the others," he roared, grabbing her wrist so tightly it bruised. He locked her in the bedroom, ranting about women who didn't appreciate his genius. Camille escaped the next morning, her hands shaking as she hailed a taxi. But the damage was done. Checking her accounts, she found them drained. Checking, savings, even a small investment account tied to her 401k equivalent. Worse, Vincent had used her identity to open credit lines, burying her under €100,000 in debt she hadn't known existed. Camille called Amelie, her voice raw with panic. "He lied about everything, Amelie. I'm ruined." Amelie listened, her heart a tangle of guilt and vindication. She'd known Vincent's history, restraining orders, fraud investigations, a trail of broken women. She counted on his predatory nature to ensnare Camille, but seeing her sister's life implode brought no joy. The final blow came when the police nationale raided Vincent's apartment at dawn, finding documents Camille had unknowingly signed, tying her to his schemes of securities fraud and identity theft. Her mugshot flashed on France 2, her once radiant eyes hollow, her face streaked with mascara. From jail, Camille left a voicemail, sobbing, "I know I hurt you, but please, I need you." Amelie listened once, then deleted it, her resolve wavering but unbroken. Camille's world lay in ruins, and Amelie stood at the edge of it, grappling with the consequences of her revenge. Camille pleaded guilty to lesser charges, testify against Vincent to avoid a harsher sentence. She served 6 months in a low-security facility outside Paris, emerging with a felony record, her credit destroyed, and a restraining order barring Vincent from contact. The local media devoured the story. Parisian woman implicated in €1 million fraud. Camille's mugshot, her eyes vacant, became a cautionary tale on evening news broadcasts. Their parents, shattered, distanced themselves from Amelie. During a strained call, Claire whispered, "You knew what he was, didn't you?" Amelie stayed silent, the truth too tangled for words. Camille fled to Lisbon, taking a job as a waitress in a small cafe near the Tagus River. Her Instagram, once a showcase of Parisian glamour, now featured muted photos of sunsets and coffee cups, her caption subdued. The predatory spark in her eyes was gone, replaced by a cautious, weary expression. Amelie followed her post from Paris, her finger hovering over the message button but never pressing it. They hadn't spoken in over a year, the chasm between them too wide to bridge. Amelie, now 29, sought therapy in a quiet office near the Luxembourg Gardens. Her therapist, a soft-spoken woman with a knack for cutting through denial, challenged her to confront the emptiness left by her vengeance. "Revenge doesn't heal the wounds you think it will," she said. Amelie nodded, her throat tight. She'd expected triumph, a sense of justice restored, but instead felt a hollow ache where her anger once burned. Family dinners, once a weekly ritual, ceased. Claire couldn't meet Amelie's eyes, torn between horror at her daughter's actions and a grudging respect for her cunning. Their father, ever the academic, muttered about consequences and tragic flaws, avoiding the heart of the matter. Amelie rebuilt her life, focusing on her journalism career, writing features for Le Monde. She dated cautiously, her trust in men fractured but not destroyed. Sometimes, late at night, she replayed Camille's voicemail, the desperation in her sister's voice echoing in her mind. Had she gone too far? She wanted Camille to face consequences, to feel the pain she'd inflicted for years. But orchestrating her ruin left Amelie questioning her own morality. She slept better knowing Camille would never steal another woman's partner. But the victory was bittersweet. Camille had learned her lesson through devastation, and Amelie carried the weight of knowing she'd engineered it. In the quiet of her Parisian flat, she wondered if healing would ever come, or the scars of their twisted game would linger forever.